everyone. This is Courtney Rowland and Mark Passwaters here with the AggieYell F-Word podcast. Mark, we are a week and a half out of early National Signing Day. Let's think back over this last week and a half and going back to signing day. What are your thoughts at this point?
I would kind of compare it to Christmas when you're a kid. You like what you got. You really like what you got in some cases.
But you want more.
You want more. I mean, it's just that simple. In the case of A&M, they probably need more. They need some more corners. They need some more linebackers, wide receivers for sure. And, so I don't think they're done shopping yet. They're trying to get some guys in for the February signing period. And, the vaunted, much discussed transfer portal is going to have to be part of the game plan here if you're going to fill out your roster. So definitely. I think it's going to be, the next couple of weeks should be pretty interesting.
So let's go back. We'll get into the transfer portal for sure, especially considering that, it's going to be a huge weekend, January 4th, I think, but we'll get into that. Going back, A&M did sign, you had mentioned some big-time guys, but of course, we want more. There was Ruben Owens and DJ Hicks, although DJ Hicks kind of made everybody a little bit nervous because it wasn't on early National Signing Day. Can you explain that a little bit further?
Yeah, he just wanted to sign on Friday, and, so he did. Basically, it was the same thing that we dealt with last year with Evan Stewart, who didn't sign on the first day either. And you had people freaking out because he's going to go to Texas and he's going to leave us in the lurch, and then he signed. And,
to keep it interesting.
Yeah. And then with DJ Hicks, he's going to go to Oregon or Oklahoma and it's going to be terrible and we're going to let him lurch, and then he signed. And in both cases, it wasn't really a concern. I mean, I get why people were freaking out because when you have, one of the top 10 players in the country and he's like, yeah, I'm going to take my time.
Right.
People inherently think disaster. But, Oregon and Oklahoma both took their shots with him. Oregon, when it came down to it, it just distance was too much. They didn't want to deal with that. And I don't think OU had the relationship with DJ that they thought they did, or they acted like they did. One thing that is always going to make a difference, even in the age of NIL, is relationships. And Hicks is very close with Elijah Robinson. He really likes Terry Price, and I think that carried the day. So, there are some people who are outside of this recruitment, from a distance, who don't get why things happen the way they did. Well, they need to learn more. Frankly, he liked A&M's position coaches. He likes the situation, so he signed with A&M.
Relationships still do matter. What do you know?
Absolutely.
Even in the world of NIL. And now, do you think NIL or something like that is the reason A&M did not get Cobb?
That's a good question. I think that there's a lot to unpack there. And I think part of it is just he likes USC. He wanted to go out west. And, let's face it, he came, if he was going to come to A&M, it would have been a chilly, dour Texas winter weekend. He went out to LA and they had the girls out there where it, is as little as humanly possible. And he got the full tour on a beautiful day in LA. And, that definitely helped. But on the plus side, that means that Gundy can shut up about A&M and tampering because, if you tamper, you get the guy.
Who was it? I think it was Jimbo, right? In the signing day press conference that said something about he said something about how absurd it is what's going on behind NIL. Like he agrees with transfer, he agrees with the portal, blah, blah, blah. But the process of it all is ridiculous. Can you expand on that a little bit more? I guess you just kind of did.
Yeah. I mean, tampering has become blatant and people aren't even trying to hide anymore because what's the penalty? There isn't one. So teams are just basically contacting players they like, either directly or through their high school coaches, and they'll just be like, if you come in the portal, we'll have something better for you. You'll get more playing time. The scheme will be better. There might be a little something of this.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's just blatant. We saw OU do this with Demond Demas a couple years ago. OU has meddled with other A&M players, um, which was stupid because it ended up costing them Edgerrin Cooper, because A&M basically went, "Oh, you're going to mess with us? We'll mess with you," and got him. And but I'll give you two examples. Sam Hartman, the quarterback at Wake Forest,
Mhm.
fantastic couple of years at Wake. No reason whatsoever to leave. Dave Clawson's still there. He goes in the portal. And immediately people are like, "Oh, he's going to Notre Dame." Tanner Mordecai, the quarterback at SMU, had a fantastic season. No reason for him to move. He went in the portal and he's already transferred to Wisconsin. People knew what they were doing because it was blatant. It was obvious that people were meddling with them. And, before they even made the move official, they knew where they were going.
Right.
So, that's the situation that we're dealing with now. And what Jimbo said was absolutely right. But after last year, when he went after Lane,
Mhm.
uh, and he went after Saban, people are not taking him as seriously as they should. But tampering is an issue. Tampering is a problem, and frankly, A&M should do what they did with NIL. If you're going to have loopholes out there and things are going to be bad, make them worse.
Mhm.
Use your ability financially, and then people will yell and scream, and they'll want changes made, because they don't want A&M to succeed, because they know if the genie gets out of the bottle, you're not going to put it back in.
Mhm.
So in this case, if they want to sit there and they want to play dirty, okay, fine, play dirty.
And I want to get into the transfer portal a little bit more and how A&M has utilized it and what we think that maybe they should do moving forward or what we anticipate. But let's first go back to signing day and the class A&M is putting together.
Right.
Micah Tease, how important was he, considering there wasn't any wide receivers at this point or
Whew.
before him?
Very important. I mean, there's no other way to put it. This is a guy you would have taken even if he had a full depth chart. He can really run. He gets, he blows past defenses. This is the prototype stretch the field guy, take the top off of defense. Uh, you know, Absolutely loved his film. Uh, he looks fantastic. But considering they don't have a full depth chart, that makes it even more important that you get him.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they dealing with now? They've got him, they've got Stewart, they've got Moose Muhammad, they got Noah Thomas, maybe Jalen Preston. I've heard mixed reports on that. He may come back, and frankly, he probably should. And then maybe Anias. You get Anias back, then all of a sudden the equation changes massively.
Right.
But we haven't heard one way or the other. My stance is that he doesn't have to say anything. He's a senior. He can just go in the draft. If he's going to come back, that's when he says something. So, I think if you're A&M and you don't know for sure what he's going to do, then you have to operate under the impression that he's not coming back, and you've got to go get more. And that's why I gave their wide receiver recruiting a D. Uh, you know, Tease is really good. Tease is great. You need 3 more.
Mm-hmm. So what is the latest rumblings that you've heard with Anias Smith? Are we leaning towards NFL? Are we leaning towards coming back? What are we leaning towards?
I have leaned towards he's going to the NFL the whole time. But, I've also made the argument that he would be better suited to return.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what may be happening behind the scenes is that the coaching staff has talked to scouts, his agents have talked to scouts, and maybe even to teams, and his other representatives, and maybe they're just kind of getting a feel for where they think he'll go. Talent wise, he's what they would call a second day pick, rounds 2 or 3. But the production he was having a great year before he got hurt. But the thing
Right.
is, that's a serious injury, breaking that ankle. For a speed guy who needs agility,
Right.
as key parts of the game, you break your ankle, people are going to, I hate to use this, but ankle flexibility, is going to be an issue. You got to prove it. Can you do that? And is he going to be able to do that, at a pro day or in Indianapolis? And that's the question I have is, do they feel like he can make up what he needs to make up in terms of, showing that he's fully healthy, that he can do everything that they need him to do? Is he going to be able to do that without having the numbers to back him
Right.
on the field? So that's the thing that intrigues me is, what are you going to do there? If you're him, and, you know, if he's getting favorable returns, then I'd probably go. If there's any doubt, there's any question, then I'd come back, because you're going to be, you're going to get a lot of passes thrown your way next year for sure.
Let's look at, who would you say, we're kind of transferring here, is the most underrated guy, the guy that's not being talked about that much, that people need to be on the lookout for in this class that they have?
Yeah. Dalton Brooks. Yeah. Easy for me. The safety out of Shiner reminds me an awful lot of Antonio Johnson. And he's, 6'2", 205. He's actually a little bigger, but he's got that speed. He's a top flight running back as well. I think this is a guy that you could plug in at nickel real quick. And, I love his film. Physically, he's got all the tools. If he can make that adjustment from a smaller Texas high school to the SEC, he could be a real asset real fast.
So looking at some, well, you already said A&M needs a lot of different things, but specifically the two that stand out to me, and maybe same to you, I don't know, tell us, linebacker, offensive line, perhaps. The A&M has continued to bring in good offensive linemen, but last year kind of showed that we aren't seeing the fruitfulness, I guess, of all of that. What are your thoughts around that, the offensive line moving forward, linebacker position as well, especially since we missed out on Anthony Hill and a few others?
Well, linebacker is, I think, number one or 1A. Wide receiver, I think, is still one.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you get a nice back, even if Preston comes back, those guys are, eligibility after next year is done. And, Preston has been hit or miss, more miss than hit. Anais, now all of a sudden he's tagged with the injury bug, after something that severe, even if he even comes back. So you got to get guys there. And, right now it seems like their targets, at least for February signing, are primarily wide receivers. They're
Right.
going after Isaac Segna from Hillsdale College. Hillsdale is funny because I didn't even know they had a football team. The only thing I knew about Hillsdale College is they used to advertise a lot on talk radio about how they were a conservative institution, and they followed constitutional principles and all this stuff. Well, now all of a sudden they got the best wide receiver in D2, and he's looking to take his constitutional principles somewhere else. 6'4", 210, 1,300 yards receiving last year. He went in the portal, and you think, D2 guy, what do you know? Yeah, you watch his film, and all of a sudden the first play out of the box is a diving one-handed catch, and I was like, okay, yeah, you just stop for this guy right now, and that's what's happening. A&M, Ole Miss, Arizona, Colorado, all these guys are coming in on him. They're after him. They're after a JUCO, and they're after Cottrell, who the 4-star wide receiver who is committed to Georgia but has been to A&M a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't sign, so they're trying to flip him. So those are three biggies. They're still after Caden Jones. Talking about the offensive line, switching over there for a second. They don't need linemen. They need tackles.
Yeah.
you know, and that's my concern with Colton Thomason and Chase Santos is you're going to try them as tackles, but are they tackles? You don't really know. I mean, Nikhil Betran is a tackle. There's not much doubt about that. But what's the adaptation process going to be for him? How quickly can he change from, Philly high school football to the SEC? Caden Jones is a guy that I would absolutely love to have, because he's got that tackle build. He got the long arms. He's tall. I didn't know that he was Marcus Jasmine's nephew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that until the other day. So that may help. But, outside of that, I mean, you just got to get some guys in there with experience. I mean, Trey Zune played on half a leg all year. Deuce Fathery didn't have a good season. But the guys behind them are it's terrifying. Demetrius Crownover is still learning the position. Hunter Erb, I'm not sure, is a tackle. And then you got nothing. So you got, they stacked up with what they think will work in the recruiting class, but still, you don't want true freshmen out there.
We've seen what that does.
Yes. I mean, even Aggie, before he got hurt, they put him out there at left tackle for the Alabama game, and he was like it was bad.
Right.
He was just like a rotating door. There goes Will Anderson. So they've got to do better there. So I think
who would be the top tackle targets, whether it's high school or portal? And I'm sure there will be a lot more that enter the portal here after this heavy week of bowl season.
Right.
But who would you think? Any names that you're hearing?
Well, that's a great question because, what do you do? How do you go about doing this? I mean, I would want experience personally. I think that, with Davis, they've been after him long enough that he's going to be the first target. But then after that, where do you go? Walter Rouse from Stanford is still out there. John Campbell from Miami is still out there. Here's a name that you'll recall. Keonta Goodwin. Remember him from last year? Almost went to A&M, went to Kentucky. He's in the portal.
Okay.
Damian George, who was at North Shore, looked at A&M pretty heavily, and then went to Alabama. He's in the portal. These are guys that I'd look at. Jake Renfro from Cincinnati. I'd look at him. You've got to find somebody. You don't maybe necessarily need a starter, but you need a guy that can start, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Somebody that you feel confident that you can plug in.
Situational.
Exactly. I mean, that would be the move for me, is find somebody that, if you don't have a 1A, then at least get a 1B.
Right. So what is the deal with Samu? Is he signing to Texas A&M? If so, when?
Oh, he signed.
Okay.
It's just a matter of he wants to do it his way. If people wanted to freak out, this would be the one to freak out about, not Hicks, because it hadn't been done officially. But basically, he wants to make the formal announcement on his birthday, which is early next month. So, he asked A&M to hold off on, blasting it out. But yeah, he signed it. It's a non-issue there.
It's done. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk transfer portal. Let's just get to the basics first of all, so we can all understand just, I guess, the rules, quote unquote, of the transfer portal. How many times can someone transfer, and how many, do they have to sit out at any point, or what's the whole rule book there? And is there a rule book?
Well, I think we both know that, if there's a rule book,
got tossed.
It's the NCAA. Nobody cares. They're terrible. But ostensibly the idea is that you can transfer once without penalty. The idea of letting them transfer more than once was proposed to the competition committee this year. They shot it down. But here's the thing. you can still transfer more than once without penalty. All you have to do is graduate.
Right.
So you have guys that are coming in that, they're there they're on campus year round. So they're taking 12 credit hours in the fall, then you take more in the spring, then you take some in the summer. If you had any credits that you brought in from high school, you can graduate in 2 years, 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Avoid engineering courses and math courses, and you're fine. Um, so once you graduate, you can transfer without penalty and walk right in. So I can sit there and go through a freshman season, a sophomore season, and be like, I can do better somewhere else and transfer. And then find out, no, I couldn't do better somewhere else, but I graduated. So then you can transfer again.
Uh-huh.
And that's where, these guys get away with, essentially murder. Because the door swings wide open if they fulfill their part of the bargain and actually go to class, graduate. So that's why you can see these guys who were like, wait a minute, weren't you in the portal last year?
Mm-hmm.
AggieYell at Texas. How are you pulling this? And honestly, I don't think he's graduated, so I'd really like to know how he's pulling
Yeah.
this. But
Both.
yeah, but that's how they do it.
So, based off of everything you've said, it seems like the transfer portal, for a team's perspective, is ultimately, the quick fix. We've seen Ole Miss really utilize it, and Texas A&M has kind of seemed like they've kind of sat back a little bit on that front. What are your thoughts around that, and how A&M you think will move forward with the transfer portal, and what they need to do with the transfer portal?
Well, at this point, I don't think they have much of a choice.
Right.
If you want to fill out your roster for 2023, you're going to have to use the portal.
Mm-hmm.
They're after what, 5, maybe 6 guys left in the freshman class. Even if you were to get all of those, and I doubt that they do, you still have 8 or 9 spots to fill, and that's where the portal comes in.
Do you
And
think the portal they'll try and fill 9 spots, or is there a number? 9?
well, right now I think they have either 14 or 15 spots open.
Okay.
Depending on what they've done with a few players, Randy Bond being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
He should be on scholarship. Right. Officially right now he's not, but I've got to think that they're going to give him one.
Okay.
So, but if you look at the 85, they're still sitting around 70, 71, something like that. Depends, does Anais come back? Does Jalen Preston come back? But even if those guys do, you're still sitting at, you got to fill 10 spots. And if I'm A&M, I'm not looking to fill it with more rookies. I'm looking to fill it with guys who have experience.
Mm-hmm.
You take a look at the 2022 cornerback class, which ended up basically blowing up in A&M's face.
Mm-hmm.
Denver Harris, now with LSU. Yeah. Okay. Whatever, LSU. Smoke Bowie's probably going to go back to Georgia. Marquise Groves Killebrew already went to Louisville. Do you really want more freshmen? You got Bravion Rogers. You got Javon Thomas. 2 of those spots are filled. You got Tony Grimes. That's the type of guy that I want. I
Mm-hmm.
want a guy who has starting experience somewhere else, who can plug and play. And they need that at linebacker. If you can find that at offensive tackle, great. It's absolutely imperative they find it at wide receiver. And then if you can go in and kind of fill in around the edges with some more talent, then that's what you do. I mean, A&M had a great freshman class last year, even with the cornerbacks, doing what they did, and
Mm-hmm.
the dummies doing what they did, whatever. You still got the vast majority of it on campus, and you should expect them to take a big step this year. But still, you need guys to fill in and keep positions to help you take the next step. So I think that they've got, this is why the portal is there, from a team's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
A player's perspective, it's all about opportunity. From a team's perspective, it's all about finding guys that fit the holes that you have. And I
Mhm.
think in the case of A&M, it's pretty obvious what they are.
Mhm. And it also seems like you had mentioned that, you don't want another rookie plugging in those holes, and you want someone with experience. So what about all the rookies who had, basically baptized by fire last year, right? Thrown in there.
Yeah.
Do you see them being like the number one guy, or do you see like a guy with more experience coming in and being the number one guy, or just in situational, I guess, scenarios?
Well, I think this is one of the glories of the phrase "let it play out."
Yeah.
Let them go head to head. Let's see what you got. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that guys like, oh, I don't know, LT Overton and Shamar Stewart, NA White, Malicia, all those guys deserve an opportunity to go out there and play.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, I don't think anybody's going to beat out Walter Nolan or McKinley Jackson. So if you're a defensive tackle, you get to wait your turn.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, but the guys that have been on campus deserve the opportunity to go out there and start.
Mhm.
That's my sentiment. But if you go out there and somebody outperforms you in camp, then so be it. And
It's
you
a
know,
business nowadays.
yeah, it,
Mhm.
there's there's no even there's no effort. Don't even try to cover it up. It's absolutely NFL light, and
Mhm.
especially in the SEC. Um, so you go out there and basically you can sell opportunity. You don't have to sell a starting spot per se, but you can say, look, Mr. Linebacker, I've got three guys right now that that I can put out there,
Mhm.
and I would really like for you to be the fourth. Uh, stuff like that. They can read a depth chart. They know what's going on.
Right.
Wide receivers the same. If you sit there and you're like, okay, they're bringing back their whole offensive line. The quarterback proved that he's good. The running back, the running backs are solid. The tight ends are good. Uh, but they need wide receiver help. Then yeah, I would be interested.
So I know right now is dead period, and the next big, I guess, weekend, January 4th, I think it is that weekend for A&M to get all those transfer portal guys in on campus and to see what they can do. Is there any news as far as that goes right now? Do we already have some names coming to campus? What do you know on that front?
Haven't heard anything yet, but then again, you still got a lot of these games, serious games that are being either played today
Right.
or played last night. And then you've got the uh, college football playoff games later today. So, there's still a lot of moving parts going. So,
Mhm.
we'll probably know more middle of the week. That's one thing about the transfer portal is it moves rapidly.
Yes.
You
If
know,
you
it,
and can you kind of expand on that a little bit? If teams don't act immediately on somebody, it's gone.
oh yeah, I mean, you and I have discussed tampering ad nauseum. And you take a look at players, like Jake Hartman at Wake Forest.
Hmm.
No reason for him to go in the portal. But Dave Clawson's still there. He's had great success with an ACC program. He's setting himself up for the NFL. He goes in the portal and all immediately is linked to Notre Dame.
Hmm.
Tanner Mordecai had a great year at SMU. He was in the portal less than a day and ended up in Wisconsin. You
Hmm.
telling me they're not messing around? Yeah, right. There's definitely tampering going on, and basically the deal is as soon as these guys get in the portal, and in some cases even before, you get a hold of them. It's like, look, this is what we've got. This is what we can offer you. Come down here and visit. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
And who they've only really targeted seriously, Mason Cobb and Tony Grimes,
Hmm. Grimes.
and one for two. Grimes
Hmm.
came down, took a look, shut it down. That if you can do that, then do it. And I think that is there tampering going on? Yes. Is there outright cheating going on? Absolutely. And Jimbo's complained about it. Uh, you know, I've just gotten to the point where with that and with NIL, if you want something to get fixed, let Texas A&M handle it. Let them go out there and cheat the crap out of things, because then all of a sudden people are going to be like, oh my God, the genie's out of the bottle. We have to stop this.
Yeah.
So the best thing,
We're not winning anymore.
exactly. So the best thing you can possibly do is go and cheat like hell right now, and basically say, hey, look, you guys want to do this? You want to play this game? We can play this game, and then all of a sudden you can actually get what you want, which is a level playing field.
Mhm.
But if they're not going to do that, the NCAA isn't going to enforce it, then abuse it.
Yeah, I mean, just NIL, transfer portal, everything like that. It's just almost just like too much to even like comprehend. It's changed recruiting dramatically and
Oh yeah.
our jobs dramatically. But it is New Year's Eve. So, looking back on 2022, Mark, what are some of the memories that stand out to you?
It was a great baseball season.
Okay,
It
that
was
was
a
fun.
great baseball season.
That was
I
fun.
I remember sitting in uh, a very modern pizza joint
Mm-hmm.
in Alexandria, Virginia, with my phone on, watching A&M play Texas in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have liked to have been in Omaha,
How
but
awesome would
I
that?
didn't. I thought there's no way they're going to get there. Then all of a sudden they go on this great run. But I remember sitting there and all these people are just like, "What planet is he on?" I'm just like, "Shut up and go away."
Yeah.
I'll eat my pizza when I get to my damn pizza. It's the eighth inning. Just go away.
So
You
excited.
know, baseball was fun. The great run that the basketball team had getting to the NIT, that was fun. There were elements of football season that were fun. Watching Devon A-Chain, watching the development of Connor Weigman.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the way that they just absolutely stomped LSU, that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Finished well.
So, stuff like that. I will remember. The rest I just assume forget.
Yeah. Moving upward in 2023, let's hope. Um, for me, it was I always loved traveling to like the SEC away games just because I have family all across the Southeast. So like Alabama and Auburn for me were awesome, despite the games. Even though A&M came very close at Alabama and Auburn was freezing. But I was hosted by family members, and so for that purpose, for me personally, it's brought my family close together. And then looking back on like a football side of things, being invited by Kenyon Green's family to be there on draft night for him to get drafted, that was something very memorable for me. So I guess, yeah, those are the things that stand out for me. And we are wishing everyone on AggieYell a happy New Year's. Everyone be safe.
Absolutely.
And we will tune back in next week. Make sure you share this, like it, let us know what you think, and Happy New Year's.
Bye.